Welcome to How We Heal with Dr. Maria. I'm so excited today because I have an amazing guest with me who has just like turned my light on for the last few years, and I want to thank him. And I'm so excited. I'm going to start with your biography. Dr. Dan is an accomplished multidisciplinary performer and educator, psychic medium, and author of several publications on cosmic disclosure, which we'll get into, and spiritual ascension. His recent series, Chronicles of an Arcturian Envoy, a Starseeds journey on the Great Awakening, and its sequel, Messages of Hope for a New Generation, are available on Amazon. Yay. His memoir, Waiting for Life, a cancer survivor's story of death, humor, and love, can also be found on Amazon. We will get into that. Dan has a successful life coaching company named Multiviewing, where he channels his information on the Ori way. You can help me with the pronunciation later. From his Arcturian guides into a 5-month human development program, transforming lives and supporting clients through their unique holistic ascension process. For more information, check out his danseda.com. He is also a qualified QHHT, theta healing, and vibration, light, and sound healing practitioner. Dan is a childhood cancer survivor, a near-death experiencer at age of 5, and had an out-of-body experience during a car accident when he was 25 years old. He remains in contact with his Arcturian guides through extraordinary dreams, visitations, as well as telepathic and astral communications. He regularly works with his guides during healing and writing sessions. That's so exciting. Okay, Dan received his PhD in transpersonal psychology with a focus on creative expression from the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology at Sophia University, his master's in public administration and nonprofit arts management from Baruch College in New York City. Okay,
Perfect.
we'll go with that. And his bachelor's in communication and music from North Carolina State University.
Yeehaw.
He, he currently has his own healing and performing arts studio in North Carolina where he teaches piano and voice both virtually and in person. He is currently a tour de force. Yeah, yeah. Without further ado, let's meet Dr. Daniel Seda. Hi.
Oh, how are you? It's so exciting to see you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know it's not in person. Someday, someday.
Someday. Hey,
Do you
listen,
just have these people that you've met like in our, that's so
circles.
weird to see. Yeah, circle tribes that
Yeah.
you're just like, oh my, you've been my jam for like a while, and I'm excited to have you here because you've been through a lot in your life. And what I like to concentrate on this show is like how different people around the world have helped themselves, how they've healed themselves, what modalities have they used to kind of like get through their dark nights of soul or near death experiences or, other things. And like when I see you, I'm like, from day one, have been like, this guy is so positive. He's a light. Even my friend Susan, Susan Long, she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear Doc. He's like, his energy is amazing." Well, like, I think a lot of people feel like that about you,
Thank you.
the sweetheart um of disclosure community. And so when I thought of your cancer survivor story, which I hope you'll kind of share with us here a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with, at age 5, I was like thinking, okay, how much does he remember? I remembered a lot from the time I was little. So
Mm,
I never know how much people remember from youth, but also like I can only imagine that anything after that was like icing on the cake,
mm.
right? So, of course, you would have this amazing personality and just light about you. You know what I mean? Because now it's all just like icing. Am I right?
That's a beautiful way to look at it because, yes, the quote unquote hashtag cancer sucks. I mean, it's true. But then
Yeah.
again, if you really, really, really like step back from maybe even a potential soul perspective, it's like, why was it attracted in your life? What did you learn from it? Um, are you willing to be a victim the rest of your life? God knows I don't want to. Probably many of our viewers here don't want to either. So I saw it as, even back then, as a bit of an adventure. which is really weird to say. But because I was, pretty intuitive, and I always could hear my guides telling me, even in the hospital, everything's going to be okay, in this beautiful kind of like voice, it was very odd because even when the doctors would come in, I'm gonna do my best to not, tell too many sad stories, but it's good to at least hear how these types of stories have helped, people. So I love what you're doing, by the way. But I remember like doctors and nurses coming in, and I could feel them, empathically. I worried more about them than I did about me because, again, I always knew I'd be okay. So they'd come in. I could almost feel their entire stories. Even when I would like try to touch them and say, "Hi, it's gonna be okay." Like I would be telling them what my people told me. But I was always trying to make people feel comfortable and good around me. And I think a lot of people in our community are very empathic. So then growing up, I had to figure out, okay, so how do I figure out how to balance that? Because you can be overly empathic and almost lose yourself, right? So, yeah, so I've just been able to have some very, very lovely um, conversations with people, meetings with people, sometimes people who were not necessarily, in my opinion, human. So that was interesting as well. Even to in this particular plane of existence, we're still kind of calling it third dimensional, maybe even fourth. We'll see how we're transgressing, but I've always known that we are so on the right timeline. We keep talking about that in the last few years. This was exactly what was necessary. I mean, there's such catharsis going on in this country right now. I don't know about you. Well, actually, no, I probably do know about
Me
you.
too.
You and I
Me
were like, we were just going like, half of us were like, oh my God, can we please just get to where we know we're going to be? And the other part was just like, everything's going to be okay.
too.
How
And I
did
think I was going like this with that too, trying to tell
you?
myself,
Yeah,
just like you said, we're always kind of exactly where we're supposed to be. So whatever happens is what happens, and
yeah.
we work with that. But at 5, I'm wondering more about cosmically the first time maybe you spoke to, and what do you want to call your family, your star family, your Arcturian guides, you
Mhm.
say. What was that to you at 5?
I'm going to do my best to kind of encapsulate
The
all.
reason why I'm asking, Dan, is because I'm trying to help other parents
Mm.
who might have kids who this is happening to, and to help them and to stay open and to listen, because we don't want to always disregard, oh, that was nothing. No,
Yeah,
why not listen to your children at
yeah.
5? Like, how can I learn from him or her? Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry
I
to interrupt.
remember, yeah, perfect. I remember my guides telling me, I don't remember if this was in the hospital or not, but it might have been just when I got out. They kept telling me, be gentle with what you say to your mother, father, etc., family, because they're not going to get it. They're not going to understand it. And I think it was recently that I think I was watching, I don't know, it was Tyler Henry or some sort of medium, and
Mhm.
I love watching that because it reminds me so much of like kind of how my process and how this is not a niche thing. It's becoming much more mainstream these days, connecting with our loved ones. But I remember him giving some bit of information from the other side about you're always going to be misunderstood, and that's something you have to be okay with this lifetime. And I was like, yeah, that
It's
has
so liberating. It's liberating, right? Like,
and
who cares?
it was so crazy because I think I had like a bio family member kind of reach out to me kind of a few weeks ago, and it was so weird because I had not heard from that person in decades. And it was interesting kind of how and why they were reaching out because I just bought a brand new house with my partner, and have a beautiful place, and very happy and content in my life. So it's like then the people come out of the woodworks. Now again, I'm always open to healing and healing wounds and whatever relationships need to happen, but there comes a point when you have to be careful of who you bring into your circles. Yeah. So I was as objective as I could be, but it was interesting to hear them say something to the effect of, we share like genetic material, and we're probably more similar um, than than what meets the eye. And a part of me, the ego part of me, was like, I don't know how if we share too much other than freckles and a receding hairline, honey. But and then the other part of me was like, okay, be chill, be zen. This is him, trying to reach out.
So,
So I just gently was like, like I'm gonna kind of give it up to God, and simply just, love as much as I can from whatever distance is necessary. And if things change, they do. But for now, I'm just sort of just being flowing with it. So getting back to what you were saying, when I was 5, being in the hospital, growing up essentially in the hospital. So I had cancer at the age of 5. I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL, which is quite an aggressive childhood cancer. But I was, again, lucky because I always knew I'd be okay. And from 5 to about 7, yeah, I was in and out of hospitals, and living at Duke Children's Hospital for a long time. But the interesting thing was that my mother, my bio mom, she was a registered nurse and had a medical background, and I know that that was very important to my life. She needed someone to take care of at a certain point in life, and I had to depend on her, and I was very grateful for that because there were a few times when if I didn't make it to the hospital in time, I would be dead. One time, I think she told me that I had vomited in the car and was doing I was convulsing, and she took one look at me, and she turned into like emergency doctor kind of mode, and she turned the car around. She went to the hospital and saved my life. And then there was another time I was in an ambulance. This is crazy. My life is so crazy. 2 times in an ambulance, I got in car accidents. 2 times in ambulances. Of course, I wasn't driving. I
yeah,
was in the back, but the first one they were trying to beat the red light, because my mom actually instilled the fear of God in them. They were like, "I'm gonna sue your asses if you don't get my kid to the, to stay alive." So I had actually was dead at that point, off the medications, flatlined. I don't remember that situation. Again, who knows? But the near-death experience that I do recall was when I had a grand mal seizure when I think it was 5 or 6, something like that, close to 6 years old. I was still in the hospital, and my body had. Do you know what a grand mal seizure is? It's like when,
it's the full deal. Yeah,
yeah, when
yeah,
you arch back and
mhm,
all you have
mhm,
is like your heels and your head,
yeah.
and my body just froze, and then all of a sudden flatlined and dropped. And what I remember was um, just looking at my body from the outside, and not having too much emotional stuff to it. It was very like I was watching a movie. And in my young mind, I thought that it was a movie, but I knew that that person was me. But it was weird because there was no ego involved. Um, and it still is very confusing. But I saw the doctors, operating on me and packing me with ice and everyone running around, and then feeling what they were feeling and what they were thinking and stuff. And
Despair, you mean?
well, so
Like, or just that urgency and rush and
yeah,
trauma care.
you're
Okay.
feeling it. Yeah, there was more urgency, but I remember one woman talking with another woman. I think they were both nurses at the time. Um, weren't quite talking, but they were almost talking telepathically, like get this certain thing, put that there, and then one running out to get it. It was almost like split-second communication. It was
Mm,
fascinating to me.
yeah,
It's like I was watching a sci-fi movie. But at that point, I remember a being to my right, very, very tall, and to me, it felt like masculine figure, but it was almost like a gentle masculine figure. I don't know how to explain that, almost ambisexual kind of. Um, and there was communication going on, and they basically said, in that beautiful voice that I heard before. Are you sure you want to leave? Look at what you'd miss if you didn't stay. And then I was flooded with information that I know now as a medium was communication. Um, I had these feelings of knowing what an impact I could have on people, and knowing the joy of being in a complex situation slash simulation, who knows,
Yeah.
um, during this particular time. And there then was no recourse other than stepping back into my body. Like I just knew it, like on a soul level, it was whoosh. There was no other choice. Um, and no matter how many slings and arrows I experience in this lifetime, I know that I'm supposed to be here right now with all of y'all and
Yeah.
enjoying this beautiful, crazy, awesome time. So hopefully
And
today,
what's so interesting is like the way I see you, like I don't even see that you get slings and arrows. I know you do, we all do, but it's just like the way you live your life and just so happy and light and bright and you're busy, you're very ambitious. I see that you're very um work oriented, so you do a lot, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um at 25 though, like this strikes me, okay, because I think I first heard you on the boy show, Journey to Truth, like you were talking about your NDE at 25, and I'm just like sitting here going, who does this? Like, who has like several in a lifetime? You know? And then I'm thinking, well, if people actually maybe step back and looked at some of their experience, then they go, oh my gosh, maybe that was an NDE in a sense. And when I look back and I can kind of go, oh my gosh,
mm,
maybe I wasn't on death's door or whatever, but I was having some sort of out of body.
mm,
So not an NDE per se, but and I look back and I go, whoa, I could
mhm,
see the whole thing from such a different
yeah,
perspective, like
yeah,
high up.
yeah,
And almost like I was flying around and I know the day, I know exactly what was going on. I don't want to mention it right now. I'll tell you later. But it
mhm,
was just like amazing, absolutely amazing. So I think that we can, because I feel like part of my job is to help remind people of their innate abilities and their innate intelligence. And as a chiropractor, I get to do that every day through the adjustment. Like, how powerful is the adjustment to help
amazing.
heal someone, right? And so
Yeah,
I think like what you're doing too, helping people with their psychic abilities and teaching them, I mean, is so important because I believe we all have them. We just need to bring them out
yeah,
in certain times of our life if we want to, right? Some people are placed here on this planet for other jobs and maybe that's not for them, but it's like you have these classes, you have these experiences to draw from. Um this car accident at 25,
mm.
can you please help me understand this?
I would love to. That's one of my favorite experiences. But side note, because you brought it up perfectly, I am
Please.
doing, and I haven't quite invited folks yet, sort of on social media, but I will today at some
Yeah,
point. I have a group reading after this, so I'm like, ah! But I'm going to be having a psychic mediumship development workshop, 3-hour workshop on Sunday of the Valentine's Day weekend. So I think it's on the 16th,
yeah.
February 16th, but I will let you know about that.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I will want to talk about your upcoming events. This show is on the 1st, February 1st. We are dropping it today as fast as I can, so people will still get to hear some of the things before it happens. And so go ahead, continue.
Oh my gosh, so 25 years old. I am, oh my God, I'm living in New York City. Again, I don't know how I survived New York because you gotta be tough, baby, to live in New York City. I mean, tough. So I always say I have my dad's, like the best qualities I got from my bio parents. My dad, I got anything is possible. He taught me, and whether looking at it, anything is possible. You're gonna fumble, you're gonna make mistakes, but anything is possible. He would say that over and over again, which is amazing and so important. My bio mom was skeptical of everything, honey. She was the scientist. She was skeptical of everything. So having both of those dichotomies, I think helped a lot in New York City. Helped me survive some very interesting experiences. So I'm in New York City and I had just finished teaching a private yoga session, I think at Trump Tower actually. There was someone who lived there. I'm still trying to figure out like because for me, when you're in New York, honey, you meet famous people all the day, all the time. You just this is part of life. You're like, "Oh, you're going to Columbus Circle." Well, people who don't know Columbus Circle, they look at it like, "Oh my God, it's the beginning of Central Park and la la la." But I'm like, "No, honey, it's 59th Street. You just go." Like you just go. So I finished teaching my lesson. I was very limber and very relaxed. I had probably some skimpy looking pajama pants on. I don't even know because I was very zen back then and quite poor. But yeah, it was fun. It was a very adventurous time. So I'm walking like I normally do, walking down 33rd from the west side. Yeah, around there, something like that. And then I was going over to the east to catch the train up to the Bronx. Yes, that is correct. And I had to catch the Green Line. It was a long time ago. And all of a sudden, there was a pinnacle point of the street. I think it was Park Ave, something like that. I'm trying to recall. But there's a tunnel to my tunnel coming out of the bridge or something. Again, it looked I wasn't thinking, right? But I had people behind me, and you just go with the flow when you're in New York City. Well, some folks begin to walk when the pedestrian light was just about to start to blink. I took one step off the thing, the pedestrian light went on. You have a taxi cab coming, and as it's coming to beat the light, it hits me. Now, here's the thing. I did not feel anything of what everyone else saw. Time was, how do I even say? It stopped. I essentially saw my consciousness split. It was into like three different conscious views. It was almost like a strobe light situation. It was very odd, but I could see everything at the same time. So I could see all three of those perspectives at the same time, which is so weird. So I knew my physical body was experiencing some serious stuff, but I also knew that, oh, I also had the bird's eye view. I also saw everything in its entirety. Then the second view was my most favorite. That was the more somatic view of what my soul was experiencing. I felt a male, very tall, who knows if it was an archangel or if it was my team on the other side of the other sides, who knows? But I was held gently like a baby in this entity's arms. And I will never forget that because I remember, and I'm getting chills talking about it, but I remember lying on his chest. And so my body was essentially in a well, my soul body was in a fetal position, being held like a precious lamb. And so all I felt was him pick me up and then gently place me down on the ground on my bottom. Okay, that's what I felt. So I was seated and I was seated. Like that's kind of how it felt. But that is not what happened in my physical body. My physical body. Okay, so um, my left gastrocnemius, my guess, was on the site of impact. So that was the bumper, and then my lower back smashed into the windshield. The windshield, they said the front of the car was completely totaled. So I don't know if I'm a Mack truck, you know, but that's what they said. And then from there, I bounced off as I think they stopped or something or came to a stop, flew like very long way, and then ended up scraping my face and head on the pavement. So again, that's not what I felt, right? I felt
Right.
oh, just beautifulness, but um, my physical body was experiencing it. Now, after this happens, one would think they would either stay put and chillax, but no. Mama got up And I was like, something happened. I know I'm not supposed to move my neck, but I got up, and then I listened to the voice inside my head, which said, sit down in the median in lotus position. And I did. I sat in the lotus position in the middle of the road. And it was crazy because, like, it was almost like a movie because I knew I wasn't supposed to look around. I just knew I was supposed to stay put and be as present as possible. People were coming over like, what's this crazy white boy doing in the middle of the street? Like, you just caused a wreck and this and that. And I was like, everything's going to be okay. I know who I am.
Wow.
I'm not hurt. They're like, he's dead, he's dead. I'm like, I'm not dead. Everything's going to be okay. So then the ambulance came and took me to the emergency room. I don't know where I was, what hospital I was, but I was there. Totally zenned out. They had actually cut my pants and my clothes to see if I had internal injuries. There was blood everywhere. I couldn't see anything. I didn't want to touch anything. But the doctor, this beautiful Indian woman, she was taking like pavement and glass and other things out of my face, and she was like, she was gently talking to me to kind of keep me awake, but I was smiling the whole time. And she's like, why are you smiling? And I go, because you have no idea what I just experienced. And she's like, oh yeah, what happened? And I go, someone picked me up. And she said, what do you mean? I said, some tall person picked me up and put me down. And that's all I know. And she's like, she's looking over my record. She's like, that didn't happen. He's crazy, you know. And she goes, well, we're gonna put you into the next room, and you're probably gonna have to see a plastic surgeon to fix the cuts and stuff and whatever you got going on. Ooh, she couldn't have got out of that room faster, but she did take very good, meticulous care of what was going on. She was a very kind woman, but skeptical. And I was used to that from my mom, like skeptical,
Yeah.
quiet-ish, still observing, still, scientifically investigating. And then I was in a room, a dark room, for a long time. And the whole time I was just chilling. In fact, I think my uncle was called because he was the only one close to where I was in New York City at the time. He came in and he starts cracking up. He's like, Danny, only you, Danny, only you. And then once he left, then the other female doctor came in, and this very beautifully tanned woman with blonde skin, blonde hair, and she looks me over, and she's like, where do where are your cuts, where's this and that? And I go, I don't know, the lady said I'm gonna need you to fix things up or something. And she looked me over and she could not believe what she saw. And she goes, I could maybe give you one stitch, but you don't need anything. And I was like, okay. I didn't know what was going on. She gave me one tiny stitch, probably just for the money. And I left the hospital.
Gotta code it. Gotta code it. Yeah.
Gotta go to baby. And I remember walking as if my body was still being put together, kind of. Like it was almost like I had suffered something, I wasn't necessarily painful. It was like things are working back into place. And then a day later, the bruise that was the very large bruise of the site of impact where I hit the taxi, that went away in a day and a half. The site of impact, my left soleus muscle, I forget what you call it, was tingling for a day and a half and was totally gone. So I had that one stitch in my head, which eventually fell out, and tiny little keloidal tissue, no big deal. But that's it. Like, what? Who does that? All because I
You,
believe,
Doc, you.
but that's funny. That's what my uncle says. Only you, Danny, only you. But I think it's because I had enough validation from my extrasensory experiences to know that that was my truth, and that is what aligned in this physical realm to be manifested. I think that's the key to spontaneous healing. It's where you have to know it from its
Yes.
very core, and if you have the validation extrasensorily, you can't not believe it. Because to this day, I don't care what anyone says. I know exactly what it feels like to be held by whatever entity that was, to be loved beyond anything, because that's what I felt in his arms. Loved beyond anything. It was all love, everything. To be gently placed on the ground like I was the most precious baby in the world as a 25-year-old man.
But it's so crazy because that's how I see you right now. Like what you just described, like the most precious baby in the world.
Oh,
Like, you
you're
know what I
really
mean?
big.
Like you're just like that. That's just who you are. And I am sitting here wondering, like, because I know you do these sessions with people. I had an amazing session with you as well. The QHHT. You can kind of sort of describe that for people, but how have these experiences helped you to help other people?
Hmm. Ooh, again, it's almost like you understand the power of intention and vibration and what this universe, matrix, multiverse is made of.
Mhm.
It's made of sacred geometry, it's made of lines of energy, it's made of energy, it's made of vibrations, molecules, particles, these types of very real science that we can tap into. You and I both share a similarity where we both have our PhDs, so we know what it's like to get into the the nitty-gritty of science and find that beautiful space where we can still be the metaphysical being and knower of wisdom with the very practical sense of what it takes in this physical realm to make things happen. I mean, I'm just going to give you a little bit of credence here. Forgive me. Um, Working with the spine is like the most important thing we kind of have because not only is our genetic material like in our it's essentially the double helix, like everything is all connected, and the spine is where your kundalini energy is, and it's like if you don't know what you are physically capable of, you'll never experience the heights of consciousness that I believe we're all indebted to and responsible to partake in because that is our birthright. So I'm going to move on to the what you were talking about QHHT. So quantum healing hypnosis technique. Dolores Cannon, who believed a lot in past life regression, she began the modality, and it was interesting. Do you know about her past at all?
Tell me.
Yeah, I have to ask because you never know, right? But of course, I'm not a biographer of hers, but she did not have much money, and her husband, I believe, had major handicaps. So she kind of had to make money with all these kids, and she started doing hypnosis. It fit her personality. She was quite an intelligent woman. Um, sometimes people are very good at certain things. I know my partner and I are a little different. I'm very good at sitting still for a while. I try anyways. But oh my God, you cannot let that boy sit still. In fact, he was just doing yard work outside and he was just like loving the sunshine. But for me, I took a little bit of a nap because I have a lot of big weekend this week to make sure I work at my optimum. But yeah, so she had these kids and she needed to make money. So she was a hypnosis. And I think that the husband was in the military because I think they were on military bases at the time. So she, after decades, mastered kind of a little healing modality. So she has kind of a script that she uses, and practitioners can um, uh, make it fit each session. So you essentially induce, I shouldn't say, well, it's induction. So you induce a client into a certain brain state. And sometimes people think that's scary, but we're always changing brain states practically all the time, right? Where it's like,
Hopefully.
right? When we're focused, hyper focused on something, that's one brain state. When we're active and, doing stuff in the town or
If
whatever,
they think it's weird, go have a cup of coffee.
right?
That would change.
Then you are zooming, ready to go.
Mhm.
And then the other, another brain state, which is what we like to get into, which is the theta brain state. That's the brain state just as you're waking, just as you're about to wake up, and just as you're about to fall asleep. And that's a very beautiful place where a lot of great stuff can occur. And I think it's because the last few days, actually, I've been woken up at 2 a.m. And I do my very best not to wake my partner up, but it's like they're always talking to me during that time. So yeah, that's why I had to take a little bit of a nap today, which was nice.
Yeah.
But these sessions are wonderful because you induce the individual into a certain brain state that allows them to be receptive to um, how do we even call this subnamulistic um, um, communication. And so what we're doing is it's not like we're harming the individual by placing things in their mind and things like that. You have to be very careful with what you do.
I
It,
never felt that
good,
during the session. Yeah.
good. And also too, I think you understand as a chiropractor, where some people think, oh, it's quack stuff or whatever. It's like, oh my God, like no, there is legitimacy to what we do. It's just it has been just like conspiracy theories and things like that. Like they use these terms. Our work has been, used against us to keep us subjugated. But what we're doing is we're getting to the most pure aspect of the individual's superconscious or subconscious. And we're getting to the very nitty gritty. And the longer you have your sessions, the deeper one goes. And I actually had my partner do a session, and he is like skeptical. Not as skeptical as my ex, though, but he's skeptical, you know. And honey, the things that came out of him, I was like, wow. Thank God I wrote it down because like he
Yeah.
wouldn't believe it. But you're in a certain state. It's not like you're totally asleep, but you're very receptive to where your mind is going subconsciously.
Mm.
And so we bring people on we call it a cloud, and we bring them into this space of past life journeys. And it's something we've done culturally, traditionally over eons,
Mhm.
because that's our connection to the other side through those
That is amazing.
beautiful, extraordinary dreams, these extrasensory perceptions, etc. Yeah,
And the way I see, well, it helped me for different reasons, but I guess I could see that it could help other people just the mere fact you're helping them to relax.
totally.
Can you imagine? Like some people go throughout the day just hitting it hard and just never have those moments where they can just kind of go into theta, those times that are like just before sleep where you get the best information from whoever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and it's like you can literally solve problems
Yep. Oh, yeah.
and you can write books, you can think of, I mean, that session that I had very much inspired me to kind of start working on my book, and you and I talked about it. But like speaking of, because I did want to get into like the books a little bit, because I know we're running out of time. My gosh, you have such a busy day. Um, but it's like I can see that QHHT, or like you say, the theta healing, because that's basically, and all of what you do can help people on so many different levels to find their own innate abilities, their own innate power to
Absolutely.
help their bodies heal themselves. Can you
Absolutely.
imagine that? The
Absolutely.
power that you have, literally, we have all the answers inside of us, I believe. And it's sort of like um a lot of people like do that are doing what you're doing, or whoever, um, different types of practitioners are helping people just literally find the answers inside of them
That's
with
it.
light and sound and relaxation. How is that bad? If you're getting any kind of arrows with that, like you said earlier in the show, or any kind of, kickback or anything, it's like that is the most natural thing that I can think of.
Yep. Yep. And I think a
And
lot of people are coming from wounded parts of themselves, whether their parents told them, because that happened to my lineage too. It's like,
mm,
parents of parents of parents tell you this isn't possible, you're going to go to hell and all these crazy things. And it's the breaking of the patterns. Yeah, you brought up actually theta healing, and theta healing gets you again to that theta brain state. But for a theta healer practitioner, they begin to um, allow the individual to bring forth certain habitual patterns and mental things that they tell themselves. And it's dealt with on a very cerebral standpoint. So we bring those forward from the subconscious, and then we kind of control alt delete. We delete those things, and then we put a different coding in there for the individual. So it's another form of relaxation, specifically mental relaxation too.
I love it. I love it. And I think that it could help anyone from a child to the later generations. That can you imagine you're in your last years, maybe, the 70s, 80s, 90s, hundreds, because we're seeing that now. And
Yeah.
you're just like, I want to go out big, like I want to clean this up as much as I can. I want to tie off loose ends. I want to be the best light that I could be, crossing over. Can you imagine pre-planning how you go out like that?
Love
I
that.
think sometimes when we go and do different types of see different practitioners like yourself, we can do that. We can um we none of us came here to play small, okay?
Mm,
And and there are times in our lives where we are playing small, and I've caught myself. Okay, I'm gonna be the first one to say,
mm,
Dr. Maria, come on, kick it up a notch, right? So, I think what you're doing is helping a lot of people. Now let's get into the book a little bit or the books, because you have the other ones as well, the second to this one.
mhm.
Um, but I'm not finished with this one yet, and I love it. And I have to ask a question. I don't know if it's the writer in me or just curiosity.
Yeah.
Are you Charles?
Oh, am I Charlie? Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. So that's a perfect question
Thank you.
because I actually had an interview with Robert. I think it was a year and a half ago. I forget.
Yeah.
Robert or White, lovely guy.
Yeah.
He asked me, I think, that same question.
Oh, you did.
Yes, but from his perspective, he was like, he thought I was the other guy. He thought I was Robert, the other, I'll just say the other person. You know,
Okay.
and I think I don't how far you've gotten. It might be towards the end that the other person
Okay.
comes in. And I was like, you know what? I am Charlie. I am the other guy, and I am the being.
Got it. Okay.
So Charlie's the intellectual side. The other guy,
Yes, that's what I saw.
mhm, and then the being is the spiritual side. That's it. And
And
I never knew that. That's the crazy thing. Like, thank you for
yeah.
bringing that up because I, honey, I sat on the desk or the chair wherever I was. I lit a candle and I said, "God, use me. Tell me what to do." Honey, I did not know what I was writing. It was all channeled. So that book right there, 20 chapters in 20 days, all
Yeah.
totally crazy. I would even find time to go running for an hour in the like I would write, I would run, come back, write, and eat, like or whatever, or eat. Yeah, I ate twice a day back then. Um,
That's the part that reminds me of Charlie.
yes. Well, oh my God, here's another crazy thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like we're going to
And
tangent.
Charlie is a character, the main character in this story, just so you guys know. Go
The
ahead.
protagonist, Dr. Charles Forthright. Or Forthright,
Mhm.
isn't that an interesting?
Doc.
Like when I heard that, I was like, "What's Charlie's last name?" They were like, "Forthright." I'm like, "Forthright? Like what?" But I love it.
Mhm.
My partner looks just like Charlie. Looks just, he's skinny, blonde, got some curls. Like, and I'm like, you are Dr. Charles Arthur. And guess what? He also has his PhD in
No.
organizational psychology or something like that. I'm like,
It's
that's exactly
Michael. It's Michael, right? Yeah,
yes.
okay. Hi, Michael.
Yeah, he's actually, I think he's upstairs working on some schoolwork because
Okay,
he
good.
teaches classes. And
Mm.
then I am more physically the other guy. And I'm like,
Okay.
this is so crazy. So I'm
Can I
still,
ask another question too? Because I'm so curious, and whoever follows me, they know that I am such a huge part of the military family and part of the military community, and I very much support veterans, active duty, and everyone in the community. And I couldn't. Okay, your your dad. I was gonna say your dad, Charles' dad in this book. wow,
Yes.
because I think as a veteran kid, like there's
I cry.
so much that I could relate to,
Yeah.
and there's so much that we could talk to beyond this conversation because I know you have to go soon. But like, how did how did you know? Are you a vet kid?
No.
You're not.
Honey, I'm telling you, like I'm getting chills because like I didn't know what I was writing. As I'm writing it, I'm talking to my editor, who was basically like he's my friend,
Yeah.
who was as interested in the project as I was. I would like send her a full chapter every night, and she'd edit it at night, and I would get it in the morning, and we would just go to town on it. But I had no idea. And in fact, I would text her, "Oh my God, guess who Charles is related to? Oh my God, guess what happens here?" Now, I'm gonna send you the second book because like you need to read that too, and it goes
Okay.
even deeper, and it brings forth their relationship even more, and it's gonna blow your mind. So I'll send
Okay.
you the second book as well. But honey, I had no idea, and also too because you and I we like our research.
Mhm.
I was led to certain things, so I didn't know. And if you picked up on this, depends on which branch of the military you're used to, but there were certain like words and certain uniforms and certain things that were
Mhm.
worn that I had no idea about. I was just led to research what that looked like and I would describe it and this and that. So there's a lot of disclosure in these books.
Yes, and, like, to not be a part of the military community, I was surprised that you got that there's, like, this hierarchy, this stuff that had to happen before you even got the information or before Charles got the information, and it was just like, "Okay, he must be a vet kid," as I'm reading this book,
Yeah.
and then to know that you're not is crazy to me, but anyway, because I have that's one of my books that I'm going to be writing is about veteran kids. So, anyways, that got me. But what I want before we're done here, because we could do this once a month. We could do this forever,
I was
right?
actually, I don't mean to stop you, but I was kind of seeing a little something. So
Okay.
the doctors. So go ahead.
Ah, the doctors, I love it because we didn't even get into star seeds. We didn't get into more cosmic things that I want to get into that I really feel like will help people in their healing journey, as well as if they're parents to help their kids. Like, I really want to get into that more. But
Absolutely.
let's talk about what you have going on in February.
Okay, cool. Which I'm so excited that you brought up the military connection. You're the first person who's done that, and I'm so excited because I had no idea. So I'm happy that it
Yeah.
connected with you that way. So February, welcome to February. I have a psychic mediumship development, just a workshop, 3-hour workshop. I have a feeling that we're probably going to need more of that, but
Mhm.
this is my first foray into helping people develop kind of what I've been able to do for a long time. And I already have like a good handful of people who are really excited. I haven't even put it on Facebook yet, so I'm going to do that today. So if anyone's watching, I would love to see you guys. We're doing a Zoom virtual um, a 3-hour course, and you're going to have me the whole time, and we're going to get really into the process. I'll tell you guys kind of what I do. I'll help you formulate what you can do. I'm the kind of person who, and you're probably the same way. I've had a lot of people who have modalities tell me how they think I'm supposed to do something, and they'll say things like, "Oh no, there's only 72 archangels and there's only 42 levels of dimensions." And I'm like, "Girl, like no." But again, play it small a little bit when you need to so that you can play it big later. So I'm really there to take what we have and to help them communicate with their loved ones and develop more of their extrasensory perception because it takes a while. Well, I shouldn't say it always does, but it usually takes a while for people. I've been doing this since I was young. That's why performing was so important for me because as an actor, you have to learn how to see things that are not quote unquote there in order for you to then play with that or bring it to fruition. Energy is very powerful, so you have to respect energy as well. So, anyways, that's going on the 16th, Sunday, the 16th of February. And then I'm doing Body, Mind, Spirit Expo in Raleigh on the
Mhm.
22nd and the 23rd. So, if you would like an in person reading in North Carolina, Come on over to Raleigh on the 22nd and 23rd, and I'll be at the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. This is, I think, the fourth or fifth year I've done this. And if you asked me 5 years ago if I'd be doing this, I would be like, nope, no way, because I didn't trust myself enough. I didn't know what was predicted for me before was actually possible.
And I
So,
think that's actually part of when you start to go into some of these teachings and you take a class and you do the thing, I think that's part of the learning is learning how to trust yourself and that gut and that first thought that you have. Because I know when I'm with someone and I'm doing my thing and I'm like, oh, yeah, when I even say it out loud, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's going on, or something came to me and, maybe I can't necessarily share that with the patient, but
and
I think, yeah, go ahead.
know when it's authentic, when it comes out of the blue, when it's not something you like know and you just it comes out of the blue and it stays there until you say something.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
when you know. Because sometimes when I'm in a reading and some person might not be getting a name or something like that, and I'm like, no, 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 this is what it is. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. It's sticking with me. Who is this person? Come to find out later, it's the person's biological father that they didn't know. La la la. It's like it's important. You have to
Yeah.
trust yourself. So learning how to trust yourself, this second guessing and doubting is very normal for a lot of people who are intuitive because we were told by the people that love us and we're supposed to take care of us that oh that's just hogwash, don't believe that. Well, it takes a very strong person to step out of that matrix and
I
do
mean, if you were left-handed and you
ah,
were forced to be right-handed, I mean, that's just one example of
my
just
god, totally.
those things that happen in institutions and that kind of thing. So again, we could talk so much more. Some of the next conversations that I would love to have you are about star seeds. I also want to talk about dreams. I
Mhm.
want to talk about protection too, because a lot of people that are going to be watching this are practitioners as well, or they're people that are around a lot of people. And like, how do we, as light givers and light workers, how do we attempt to learn how to protect ourselves? Um,
Very important.
and all those things.
Whenever I give my readings and stuff, I have several stones and they call to me. I have tons of stones. In fact, one day I'm hoping you can come over at some point and we'll come out to the East Coast and I'll show you my beautiful stash. Oh, in fact, this one right here too. I don't know if you can see it. It's a beautiful Herkimer diamond with copper, and there's a
Okay.
beautiful tourmaline inside there.
There
And I love it.
is.
I
Okay.
love it because it's not quote unquote perfect, right? But that little tourmaline for me is an indication that you can shine your light, but you also have to protect yourself. And I think that's a beautiful
That
thing.
little reminder. Yeah. Hmm.
So I always have a little tourmaline or some obsidian or things like that, the darker stones that absorb the negative energies. And then I have the amethyst or the crystals or, rose quartz and things that cultivate more of that psychic sense. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I have those all over my office as well.
Yes.
Sometimes people notice and sometimes they don't. Underneath the table.
Oh, there we go.
I want to thank you so much for joining me and us today and taking the time out of your very busy schedule to share with us some amazing experiences that you've had in your life. And my gosh, you guys, if you have a chance to go to Amazon or go find the books, go do it. If you're in the area, go see him. I mean, Dan, Dr. Dan, it's been a pleasure and I love hanging with you.
You too.
So
Awesome.
thank
So excited.
you. And don't worry, everyone, I will have all his information in the description below. And thank you so much. Until next time, sir.
Such a blessing. Thank you, Dr. Maria.
Okay.